towards Mondiacult is a series of events that leads to the real conference that will happen next week. But what we wanted to do as European projects or European research projects was to showcase what we are working on and to show and to advocate how much is important to combat illicit trafficking of cultural goods with innovation and especially with unity in across sectors. So I'm Marco Fiore, I'm the Master of Ceremony of today, and I just want to give you some housekeeping rules. The agenda is pretty full, so we have a lot of things going on. I just ask you to mute your mic, know that you're being recorded, so the event is recorded. The final video will show mainly the speakers, but to avoid to be in the final recording, if you don't want to be in the final recording, please shut off your camera and your microphone so that we are sure that you won't be recorded. And last thing, during the roundtable, as you know, the second part of the event is the roundtable. We will collect questions in the chat. So in the Q&A, there will be the Q&A, and I will report the questions. So there won't be the possibility to speak up, and we are doing this to do things in the tidiest way possible. And so I would like that said, I think that we can start, and I think that everyone is in the room. So I can give the floor to Dr. Rodrigo Martín Galán from the Research Executive Agency. And please, Rodrigo, tell us about these three projects and what they mean for the future.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for inviting us. We are very proud in the Research Executive Agency of the European Commission of being managing these three projects on illicit traffic. Because when you work on cultural heritage, you usually understand why the fight against illicit traffic is important. So nobody needs to explain you why the destruction of heritage needs to be fought. We usually understand that the looting of cultural heritage, either if it's in North Africa, Mesopotamia, or even in Afghanistan, can be detrimental for European history even. We all understand that. But when you tackle the problem on illicit traffic in a more comprehensive way, and when you start to work with people, is in my case of other DGs in the European Union that are tackling it from different angles, you realize that the problem goes beyond heritage. You see that there is a series of more complex implications of illicit traffic, like money laundering, terrorism, many different types of organized crime. So this really becomes serious. For this reason, as it is a very complex problem, and if we want to know it well, we have to tackle it from a very multidisciplinary angle, from very different perspectives. That's the reason why initiatives like the projects ANCHISE, AURORA, and ENIGMA, which are the three of them founded by the European Union Research Program Horizon Europe, they are important in order to help to have a knowledge from many different angles, a very multidisciplinary and comprehensive knowledge of the problems. And this vision is essential to have a good knowledge of the complexity of illicit traffic. As you know, knowledge is the beginning of any kind of action. So as we are founding research, the important thing is to have science-based information that will help not only to the advance of the knowledge, but also for making policy against illicit traffic based on strong scientific facts. So thank you very much. I will not be able to stay for the whole event that I would really like, but as I already said to the partners, we are extremely busy in this period of the year, and I will have to leave very soon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Galán, and we're glad to see you and to have you introducing the session. And so I think that we can start in delving into the topics that we are going to discuss today. And so I will just present you briefly who we will have talking. We have Dr. Véronique Chankowski from the ANCHISE project, director of the French School of Athens. Then we have Dr. Charalampos Georgiadis, associate professor of Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And then we have Dr. Domenico Romano for the AURORA project from AVVALE. So I will leave the floor to Dr. Chankowski so that we can start.
Thank you very much. So my name is Véronique Chankowski. I'm a professor of the University of Lyon and director of the Ecole française d'Athènes, a French public research center in Greece. And I'm here today to present the ANCHISE project. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you the main findings and recommendations from our work and to address one of the most pressing but under-analyzed threats to our European and global heritage. Cultural heritage trafficking is a well-known threat in Europe, but it remains insufficiently analyzed and understood. Looted artifacts emerge from clandestine excavations and enter the market without any scientific documentation or provenance history. This phenomenon extends far beyond simple thefts. It connects to organized crime networks where cultural goods trafficking often masks other illegal activities or terrorist financing. What makes this issue particularly urgent is its irreversible nature. When cultural heritage is looted or destroyed, we lose a non-renewable resource. Protecting cultural heritage means protecting communities' ability to understand their past in all its dimensions, which is fundamentally tied to the values of democracy itself. It was precisely in response to tragic geopolitical evolutions in several countries that the European research community mobilized, giving birth to the first projects addressing cultural heritage trafficking. It was nearly a decade ago. In ANCHISE, our consortium is bringing together 15 partners from 7 countries with a platform gathering a huge community of users. We started from the observation that there are many useful skills in unrelated and disconnected fields. First of all, the protection of cultural heritage is technologically under-equipped. We need more innovation in this field. Technologies can be of great help in combating illicit trafficking, but they are useless if they are not connected to end users' needs, that is, cultural heritage professionals. They have to be developed in close connection with the end users. But technologies will be also useless if they are not connected to the expertise of the social and human sciences, because the phenomenon we are facing is constantly evolving. And if we want to bring efficient answers, we also have to study the in-depth of the looting activities. Networking and research in humanities and social sciences are also tools. So for all these reasons, ANCHISE aims to bridge the gap between technology and end users through practical tools and a strong expert user network. These priorities are developed in our action plan, and the project includes evaluation of market-ready technologies in order to integrate already existing solutions, development of new tools in order to answer as close as possible the needs on the field, development of studies in sociology and economics to update our understanding of the looting phenomenon, dissemination of the approach as largely as possible, training of professional communities, and awareness raising in compliance with ethic requirements. The ANCHISE project has developed a toolkit based on the expertise of our tech partners. This toolkit includes advanced tools for monitoring, object detection, border control, authentication, and web or dark web crawling. But the issue of technologies is also a matter of data, because the cultural heritage domain is very often lacking of interoperability to make the tools efficient. So we also worked on database integration and data fusion to protect cultural heritage. These tools have been tested during the project in 3 phases on archaeological sites, in museums, and on borders, with professional communities giving their feedback and allowing step-by-step the completion of 6 technological tools that will be ready for use for cultural heritage professionals at the end of the project. And we took care of involving different countries in order to benefit from a large diversity of context and needs. Greece, Sweden, Bulgaria, Italy, Bosnia were the places for our demonstrations. Our consortium members have been at the forefront of this field since its emergence as a European research priority. Many of us have contributed to each successive project, accumulating not just theoretical knowledge, but practical expertise in addressing the complex realities of cultural trafficking. To address this knowledge gap, ANCHISE has initiated multiple forums for information exchange and research dissemination, an international symposium with proceedings to be published, focused on the economic and social context of archaeological artifacts trafficking, paving the way for research into money laundering and organized crime activities. Our training activities have contributed to enhance the field of provenance research in its connection to different cultural heritage institutions. And our webinar series, ANCHISE Talks, have explored topics ranging from nanotechnologies and AI applications to free ports and to the role of the antiquity market in money laundering, for instance. These initiatives reflect our commitment to deepening fundamental understanding of trafficking networks, their evolution, and their sociological dimensions, a knowledge that is essential for developing effective countermeasures. So the legacy of ANCHISE will be the development of new technological tools, as well as the gathering of several publications and online resources, allowing transdisciplinary analysis of the illicit trafficking and the definition of further actions. ANCHISE has also created a strong interdisciplinary network and deep partnerships between many research laboratories and institutions in all Europe. This is a very solid foundation that Europe should not allow to disintegrate after the end of the project of this cluster 2. So after ANCHISE, and with the other projects of the cluster 2, we can now have 3 major assets. We can have European engagement, we can have interdisciplinary synergy, and we can have commitment of the society to heritage protection. For ANCHISE, we will have the ANCHISE Forum at the end of the project in Athens next January, 14th and to 16th of January, and I hope that you will join us, learn more about our work and support for future coordinated initiatives. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chankowski. So I think that I can give the floor to Dr. Georgiadis. And see.
Thank you, Marco, and I want to welcome everybody that participating on today's presentation. So I'm Charalampos Georgiadis. I'm an associate professor in the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and I'm the coordinator of the ENIGMA project. ENIGMA stands from Endorsing, Safeguarding, Protection and Provenance Management of Cultural Heritage. The ENIGMA project is a Horizon Europe funded research project with 12 partners, and it's going to end at the end of the year. The main threats to cultural goods consist basically of armed conflicts, natural disasters, and also human actions. What we discovered is that usually small cultural objects are the ones that are most illicitly traded. So ENIGMA is focusing on that kind of objects. And in order to be able to develop all our methodologies and tools, we work closely with law enforcement agencies, museums, and cultural heritage experts. What we have done up to now, we have developed tools and technology that can help us in the fight against looting and the illicit excavation of cultural goods. And we achieved that by co-designing an authenticity concept for authentication, identification, and provenance of cultural goods, using satellite Earth observation to monitor heritage sites. We created a crowdsourcing tool, and also we developed a decision support platform, which has been validated through the execution of 4 pilot cases and by end users like law enforcement agencies and cultural heritage experts. So here's an overview of the ENIGMA platform. The ENIGMA platform is a holistic approach and a holistic platform that integrates all the individual tools in a one-stop shop. So we have the backend infrastructure, which is mainly the core of the platform, which has the main graph database, which used the Europeana data model and vocabularies in order to standardize all the information we gathered from the existing databases. We also developed AI and machine learning tools in order to be able to curate the data and convert them to a unified standard format. We have API connect database, so we can customize the input of our data by directly accessing database through an API, and also we can gather information from web crawlers that can crawl either the dark web or the regular web to acquire information. All these are integrated and are supporting a decision support system, which is based on the unique authenticity and identifier. All these tools are accessed by the graphical user interface, which is the front end of the applications, where we have tools for the end users. And our tools are mainly addressed and focused to 2 different categories. The one is the law enforcement agency officers, where they have access to the remote sensing tool. They have access to the unique authenticity identifier and the similarity checking tool, and also the public participation tool. The experts can also use the same tools, but with a different, but because they are experts, they have more options when they are using the UAI tool. And also they have access to the 3D reconstruction tool, which is a tool that can reconstruct a 3D object from different pieces, either from the fragmented 3D models or from images. And also we have the auxiliary tools like the Earth observation and GIS data that are monitoring heritage sites at risk, and the public participation crowdsourcing tool. The ENIGMA platform is basically in a responsive format where anyone can access it either through a web browser or mobile devices. And here we can see an example of the LIA officer interface. The core of our approach is the UAI. The UAI is the unique authenticity identifier. So basically it has different building blocks, which are the properties and values of different categories, the hierarchical information that comes from using standardized vocabularies, also image extracted features, and the 3D object features. We can see that we have 3 basic parts. One is the feature part, which is basically are attributes that come to the inherent characteristic of a record, of a cultural good, and it plays a crucial role in defining the uniqueness of its record. We have the timestamp part, which is basically providing the temporal aspect of the dataset, marking the exact time at which each record was created. And by using this information, we can track the change and maintain the chronological integrity of the dataset, and also ensures that the UAI reflects not only static features, but also the dynamic aspect of the data. Also, we have the position part, which is basically the spatial or contextual location of the record within the data space, and this can help us identify relational patterns and the computation of proximity measures. So here we can see a representation of the UAI. The UAI can be seen as a DNA strand where it comprises of different categories that can be populated by the individual user. So we can have categorical information like the type of an object, which can be a coin and figurine and lamp, numerical, which basically is quantitative information about dimensions of an object. We can have materials that also this information comes from vocabularies, and also have hierarchical information, which is a tree-like structure where each category is part of an ontology. And we're getting these categories from Getty, Wikidata, Europeana, and they provide a semantic meaning. But how basically we're going to create this UAI, this DNA record? We are mainly focusing on unregistered cultural goods, which means that the first encounter of an object is going to be a law enforcement agency officer that will find the object in a border or in a crossing. So the LIA officer basically inserts some primary parameters about the category of the object, the material, some dimensions, and also we developed a toolkit that they can create a 3D model of the object on site. And also you can create some images. Then they assign the job to a cultural heritage expert, which by using the provenance assess tool can automatically detect the type of the tool and copy some of the information of similar tools in the database. At the final stage, the expert basically supervises the whole process and decides which of the information that automatically came from searching our database in the record are correct, and they can also enhance the process. Here we can see the workflow of the provenance LIA officer. So they create a new record and they start documenting the object with the minimum information they can provide. And here we can see screenshots of the platform and it's working. Basically, they can also access the remote sensing tool and crowdsourcing tool in order to see and the existing hotspots, and that can give them an idea about the origin of the object and if it's legally or illegally trafficked. They can upload the documents, the traveling documents of the object, photos, and also create a fast 3D scan of the object and upload it. And they assign this job to an expert. Then the expert, they have access to the assigned CG. They have a more detailed graphical user interface of the provenance research tool, so they can start reviewing the input, get access to images in the 3D, and by using the similarity tool, they can query databases and have information about similar objects. And by that way, in an interactive process, they can provide additional information and they enhance the cultural good documentation in order to provide a final decision. What were the outcomes of Enigma? Basically, we created a decision support platform which is targeted to law enforcement and cultural heritage experts in order to protect cultural goods. And by that, we increased the protection of cultural goods against anthropogenic threats. We decreased the cultural heritage destruction and improved the identification of illicit trafficking. And also we can provide end-user training. Currently, our system and our machine learning algorithms and AI algorithms have been trained with data, including data from Asmolin, Artorio Dale Turin, National Museums of Poland, and Mouse Pesaro. Thank you for your attention. We also last week we finalized some of our pilot cases with providing training, and also we tested the system under operational procedures in the airport of Thessaloniki. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Georgiadis, and that was great. So we can now switch to Dr. Romano, who can present to us Aurora in their technological advancement. It's up to
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Marco. Thank you very much, everyone, for the invitation, for being today here. I'm Domenico Romano. I'm the coordinator of the Aurora project. I'm responsible in AVVALE about research on AI and coordinating Horizon project. So let's see what Aurora is on. So Aurora comprises 9 partners coming from different parts of Europe. As you can see, we have also the honor to have an Ukrainian partner, which is particular complex now, considering this complicated situation occurring. And we are 9. We are comprising university and national companies also. And of course, we have in our consortium also museum partners. So what about Aurora is? So Aurora is a consortium that have in mind to build a specific tool to demonstrate the authenticity of the provenance of an artwork. So in order to make that, in order to allow this tool to be practically usable to the different art institutions, so small and much bigger art institution having different type of resources and budget and competencies, we tried to build this artwork provenance authenticity verification tool and tracking, transaction tracking and position tracking devices in order to be very low expensive and very practically usable for the institution. We leverage on that using artwork digital ID. We create an artwork digital ID with a specific procedure we will see in details soon, and creating an effective physical to digital association, because this is some of the most delicate part when usually you create something that is from digital, has to have a digital counterpart from its physical real world. So our ambition, I started to say them before. So we want to design this artwork identification and authentication verification tool and tracking tool in order to not create, to protect the cultural agent, of course, but also to prevent that this tool can interact with the object, with the artwork. So the marker, we use the marker, a specific marker that is that was developed during the project, has to be non-destructive, non-invasive, very cost-effective. All the solution, as I say, easy to be used. The goal on that is the main purpose is to democratize advanced technologies in order to fight illicit trafficking. That means to equip, as I say, the whole small institution with advanced competencies, even without having a complex, a requirement of complex knowledges. So making complex technologies usable to everyone. Aurora technological pillars are 4, mainly 4. Of course, are declined, they interact each other. So the 4 technological pillar XRF spectroscopy. This was used to derive the inner properties of the artwork, because it can extract the composition of the artwork in the inner layer, so in the layer that are not interacting with the environment, and so that are much more preserved with respect to the external layer. As I mentioned before, new nanomaterials were specifically developed in order to create the non-invasive and non-destructive marker to be used, to be applied in the artwork. I mentioned the miniaturized device is an electronic device that is very small, is very low power consumption, and is able to track an object and collect vital parameters of the object, and is not using the GPS. This was one of the main points, because GPS is very energy consuming. Also, we leverage on the blockchain technology in order to close the the gap to allow the verification process. So now we will see in details what in practice is Aurora. So as I said, the first step is to operate an XRF scan on the artwork. This XRF scan can extract the inner properties, and this data, these inner properties, are encoded and translated into a digital fingerprint. This fingerprint, of course, is encoded and is translated into a alphanumerical code, specific alphanumerical code that is encrypted. And part of this alphanumerical code, the digital fingerprint, is encoded in the blockchain. And the same is follow a different path, is encoded in the chemical marker. The chemical market, which is applied on the artwork. Here we see an example as a QR code is an example, but of course the chemical marking can be any shape because it's agnostic of the shape. You have just to define a convention of which shape you want to read. Once the chemical marker is applied on the artwork with a very simple device as a smartphone, it can be read, it can be decoded with a specific procedure, with only specific device, of course, that are authorized to investigate the blockchain, retrieve the information, compare the information, and then if there is a match, the provenance is established. So is checked. If there is no match, and there are different layers of safety on that, there is, of course, a no match. So alarm were raised. So more inspection or recognizing the artwork as a false. I mentioned before the other components. The other component is the low power tracking device. As you can see here, there is the electronic device. It's very low power and is able to track the device inside the environment. We will see later just few information. So just a details on how the artwork digital ID is created from the artwork properties. As I said, the artwork is taken under the XRF scan. The digital fingerprint is produced with this alphanumerical sequence that is further encoded in an encrypted artwork, digital ID, and then stored in the blockchain. The store of the blockchain, as for example, NFT, but the platform is open to any kind of protocols, blockchain protocols. There are many different blockchain protocols and they are continuously evolving. This NFT, for example, here is stored is encoded in the chemical markers through the shape of the chemical marker. Another details, here are the different chemical markers, chemical nanomaterial developed. As I said, the shape is just a convention. We have tested different type of shape and different type of performances of the ink under different type of shape. For example, pen writing, brushing, you here see different type of colors because the different type of colors recognized by the device further improve the safety and the robustness of the reading marker process, but also you can see the inkjet printing. So of course these deposition method are highlighted under UV lens. Otherwise, you can see nothing, as you can check here. Here are some of the results we did of the chemical marker on sandstone and marble. As you can see, under normal light, you can see nothing. On the specific UV wavelengths, you can, the marker is highlighted. So, of course, the marker was tested on different type of material. It's not possible in only one project to test in all material, but we test on stone, wood, ceramic, and the different type of ancient paper. So that's it. The chemical marker effectively was proved to be very resistant to aging and degrading factors. So is able to store very long-term information, so is aligned to the properties of the blockchain that is of course, able to store information for a long time in an unalterable way on the property derived from the XRF, which is looking inside the artwork, not on the surface of the artwork. Here, some details about the embedded wireless device for the tracking. As I mentioned, we are not using GPS signal, but we are using some ultra-wideband signals. That's ultra-wideband signals are recognized, are acquired from the anchors, some specific anchors that can derive, then calculate with the signal, of course, when calculate, it's possible to calculate the exact position of the device or the object, and then it's possible also to check if there are some changes in the position or some unforeseen problem on the vital parameters of the artwork, because the device can also acquire information on humidity and temperature. So these are some examples we did during the project of the testing of the chemical device, one in the Cork Museum, another one in the University of Cork, College Cork, sorry. Another one will be soon deployed at the Hungarian National Museum, which is one of the partners of the project. So here are just a mention of the latest publication we did. You can scan the QR code in order to retrieve the PDF. This study was published a few weeks ago. Of course, is showcasing the lesson learned from the difficulties that the art institution can have in order to adopt new technologies, the gap between the different technology, the different knowledge of the different art institutions, and of course, how the different art institutions are dealing this, are addressing the illicit trafficking. Another important mention, this is the most important mention I can say, is the experimental apply of the chemical marker of Aurora in real artwork in Ukraine in order to protect their cultural heritage. So they use the chemical marker developed. Here there is just a picture as an example. They use this marker, our marker, in order to mark specific object. They have learned some lessons, some challenges, beside of course the current situation, but some challenges in order to practically put it in the real world, apply the real world the chemical marker. And these lessons are very helpful in order to improve further our solution. Not only the chemical marker, but the whole authentication and tracking process. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Romano, and thank you especially for the three speakers for keeping the time. I think we are on time, and that's great. And also see that we have almost 80 participants in the room, which is great. And as you can see, we're all very passionate about our projects and what we are doing. So don't hesitate to go and follow us on social media, because all the projects have social media, they have newsletters, and all the three projects have coming final events, because the three projects are coming to an end. Am I right, Axel? Can you?
Yes, you're right. So thank you, Marco. I will take the floor now to organize the discussion. So I will have the honor to moderate such a nice discussion with a very distinct and qualified panel of specialists and experts. I'll also introduce myself. I am Axel Kerep. I am an archaeologist and also a tech developer. I'm a designer and a project manager for Artefact, which is an AI application that is working with the French police and French customs to detect illicit cultural goods. And I also contribute to the ANCHISE project. So today I'm very happy to process to this discussion with the really focused selection of end user and different communities within from LEAs, law enforcement agencies, to research to museum. So let's go straight to the point to keep the time. And talking about experts, I will introduce all of you. And sorry if I have to read because your resume are very impressive and difficult to memorize. And sorry again if I misspell your name. So with us today, we will have Georgios Bouraimis from Enigma Project. You are an experienced electrical and computer engineer. You've been working National Technical University of Athens. You have 27 years in IT, defense, and cybersecurity. And you have also supported cybersecurity with the Hellenic Ministry of Culture of Greece, and you also participated with NATO operations. You are a certified lecturer at the Hellenic Naval Academy and European Security Defense College, and you have successfully led numerous national European projects. I will also introduce Valentina Vassallo, which is my partner in ANCHISE. You have a background in archaeology, a master in conservation and cultural heritage. You are specialized in conservation and management of cultural heritage with a major focus in digital methodologies. In 2009, you have joined the STARC at the Cyprus Institute of Research, and you are focusing your research in 3D digital heritage assets, especially with data integration and communication process. You are now a PhD, writing a PhD with Cyprus Institute on 3D digital approach for the study and interpretation of archaeological artifacts. Professor Mikola Bevs from AURORA, sorry again if I misspell your name. You are professor and head of the Department of Architecture and Conservation at Lviv Polytechnic National University. You are recognized authority in restoration and architectural and artistic heritage. You have authored over 200 scientific publications, which is a little bit less than me. You have created many conservation and urban regeneration projects in Western Ukraine, and you hold honors, included Honor Architect of Ukraine. Next to you, you were in same project in AURORA. You have Natalia Shukrai. In economics, you are a professor and vice director for education and international relation and head of department of management of organization at Lviv Polytechnic National University. You are also an expert in project management, organizational development, business model innovation, which is very useful for technical developments and follow-up for the project. And you help international relations and university industry cooperation, and thank you for that. As a business developer, we need people like you. And finally, Azra Becevic Saren-Kapar from AURORA. We just met each other in Sarajevo recently. You are senior textile conservator and museum advisor at the National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina. You are educated in Zagreb and Durham University, where we have many friends. You practice minimal intervention conservation of textile, wood, metal, and you are expert advisor for exhibition. You are also very active in training and regional museum network, Balkan Museum Network, and ICOM. So my introduction is nearly finished, and again, I am very honored to be part of this discussion with you. Let's go straight to the discussion, which is about the uptake, which is about the usage of end user of all of these tools by the user community. And for this, I will go straight to the point because we have seen a very, 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 very interesting project amongst all the others operational projects that we displayed within this free consortium, but that was the nanomarkers project, Natalia and Professor Bevs. So Domenico just presented the frame of your technology. So what we want to know is maybe in this context of the invasion of your territory by the Russian and the application of nanomarkers. Can you tell us more about this practical application and the challenges that you encounter? And sorry again, within 5 minutes because we are running a bit late, but thank you again to tell us about your journey with the nanomarking.
Yes, thank you for this possibility to present our result of our experimental market. This year, we performed pilot testing in 3 Ukrainian churches. Why in the churches? Because many sacred artwork are highly valuable, but often less protected. The museum, for example, collection. So that's why we choose this all testing in churches that help us address real risk in preserving cultural heritage, because it's not only about the research, but also in about to protect Ukraine cultural heritage. These 3 territories are not occupied yet, but something can happen, and that's why it's very important for our Ukrainian cultural heritage. So for this experiment, only one type of ink, yellow ink, was applied manually with a brush, following a 3-step processes: cleaning, applying a protective varnish layer, and then applying in the ink itself. There were the different kind of materials: wood, as Domenico said, wood, polychromed wood, metal, fabric, limestone, etc. But we can combine all results, and from our observation, the best effect is achieved when the ink is applied in continuous lines rather than dots. Then the process requires care, documentation, and you see up to 1.5 of hour or 40 minutes. It's not so quick, because you see we marketing is most effective when applied to authentic, irremovable part of the artwork, ideally on both front and reserve sides. So our conclusion is clear: invisible marking can be effective tools for safeguarding cultural heritage. Through the application procedure is enough laborious and must be further optimized. That is the task of our project AURORA. Future experiments, including the use of different inks and different application methods, will help in the future us improve this technology, and hope we will prove all our cultural heritage, not only in Ukraine. Thank you for the possibility.
And thank you very much, Natalia. I just wanted to just enhance the discussion for the communities, because this is very sophisticated technology. Have you, of course, you have a plan in business exploitation, but to just make it operational in an industrial way, so that partners within Europe could use it with the ink and also with the machines to detect these things. Is it something that you think will be realistic within the next 5 years, or there is still a lot to process here? Sorry for my blunt question.
Thank you for your question, for your reflection, because it's very important not only for Ukraine, because it's crucial now. You see, we have the great need to protect our Ukraine heritage, but we also can say in the territory of all Europe. So we do it only with the brush, but under the frame of our project, we think how to include it, because nowadays we can think under the other methods. And if you will ask if it's, for example, this marking be seen with the naked eye, no, because it's this marking is invisible, or you can need the appropriate equipment to see. We can use only yellow ink because it was on a field, in the church, in the far region. But in the laboratory of AURORA, we use the different ink and with the different methods. So, and we try to use the help of blockchain and artificial intelligence. This is our task for the project, and we think that for the next few years we will develop it on the possibility of using it in the European Museum.
Well, thank you very much. This is very promising, and we all need this to protect our heritage. There's, of course, so many other tools that we can think of, but in within this free project. But it was very important, considering the situation in Ukraine, that you develop this information. Following now from the Museum and Protection of our Heritage, the front line is always the police and custom, and I'm very happy to have George Pouraimis, sorry if I misspelled your name, because you represent this practical operation of everyday fighting against illicit trafficking. So from your experience in the field of research for law enforcement agencies, because you are also research and law enforcement agencies, from your opinion, from what you have seen, would that be easily applied and integrated into the workflow of your investigation? Which I mean, to short is, can this tool be easily integrated into your everyday work?
Oh, hello. Thank you.
Thank you.
So from the three projects that we saw previously, and my experience from the pilot cases that we ran with law enforcement agencies in ENIGMA project, I think that I can outline how these tools can be practically applied and integrated in our workflows for both, of course, investigation and prevention. So I think that the key advantage of three of these suites that we saw, it's not just one tool, but actually we need to create a connected ecosystem that addresses different stages on the work, from proactive intelligence gathering to building a case for prosecution. So far, LIA has a current workflow when they find, how they find, when they find a cultural good, and of course they follow a well-known phases, which is the intelligence, the monitoring, interdiction, investigation, and collaboration. So nowadays, more of the LIAs receive sporadic human intelligence reports about potential, let's say, looting, and they manually and not frequently, infrequently, they check online sites for sales, sometimes the dark web, etc. So when an officer from LIA, a lawyer officer, sees a suspicious, let's say, pot in an airport, he has to hold the shipment and call a remote expert to investigate more, and this is a cause of delays for everyone. And then the investigator needs to, which might be an archaeologist, needs to spend weeks cross-referencing, let's say, the databases, the existing databases, and trying to find an expert to confirm the object's origin. This process of sharing evidence via official channels with other countries, leading to delays as well. So now with these three tools, and especially with the ENIGMA tools that we have created, there is a new way, an integrated workflow. So now we can receive automated alerts from an Earth observation toolkit about illegal digging at a known site, and we use a web crawler which flags a suspicious online sale on an item similar to artifacts from a looted region. And then when the officer is at the airport and sees a suspicious artifact, he can or she can uses his or her mobile app to scan the object. We can get an instant AI match to the style of the looted site and providing immediate probable cause for seizure. So the archaeologist, the investigator, can upload the 3D scan to ENIGMA platform and confirm the link of the looted site and connect it to these the 3 other similar seizures. And lastly, we can collaborate with other LIAs and share evidence in real time to build a stronger and multinational cause against the trafficking network.
Well, this is very interesting. What you say is about this ecosystem is also what we have seen that the other project tried to build. Is also what the other project wants to reduce the time of action and build bridges between experts. And so thank you very much for your insight. And maybe we will also keep some discussion for the end of this exchange about how quick we can integrate this. But what is important also is that you have knowledge because you are part of a project. But what about the other LEAs? What about the other specialists? And this is why I turned to Valentina Vassallo, because you were responsible, Valentina, in ANCHISE project for mapping the existing technologies, what was accessible by the time to the people. So with your experience, with the surveys you've made, what is the state of the art in the knowledge of tools for combating the illicit trafficking of cultural heritage? Valentina.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. So as we heard, there are innovative projects that are effectively and practically finding solutions for combating the illicit trafficking of cultural heritage. But yet, when we speak about the state of the art, it's important to distinguish between what is technically available and what is actually known and used by those who are daily involved in the activities of fighting illicit trafficking on cultural heritage. We know that databases and tools that deal with stolen and trafficked artifacts play a central role because they are important for law enforcement agencies, for cultural institutions, and for any professionals dealing with cultural heritage. But in relation to the questions that you asked me, and within the ANCHISE project, so before we started to develop the tool set that was mentioned also by Professor Chankowski, we carried out some analysis, essentially a survey and a series of interviews on tools, technologies, and methods, what we called TTMs. And our aim was, first of all, to identify the diverse needs of the end users, and second, also to map the TTMs that were currently available on the market at that time, assessing how and above all, if they are used, also trying to highlight any gaps in the current market offer. So based on these specific results of this analysis, the current state of the art in knowledge of these identified TTMs among, of course, the surveyed stakeholders resulted somehow limited. So these trends show that regarding TTMs, for example, for stopping the illicit trafficking, the stakeholders' knowledge is still relatively rare. Instead, in relation to TTMs for the detection, the expertise is present, but is unevenly distributed. And instead, for what concerns the TTMs for prevention, the knowledge of the stakeholders seems to be the most prevalent. So in general, the analysis highlighted that I would say 40% of the participants operate completely without using any tools and technologies to fight the illegal trafficking of cultural goods. And also, through our evaluations, it was shown that in several cases, the participants expressed also a limited familiarity with the existing international databases and platforms. And even those that are actively engaged in enforcement or heritage protection were sometimes unaware of certain tools, especially if they were not developed in their own community or related to the field of expertise they have. So these resources, we noticed that were not part of the regular workflow, and sometimes simply because they were not introduced to these tools. And but something appeared also as a result. So when they discovered these tools, they expressed the willingness to use them, provided that, of course, they were accessible, adapted to institutional needs, and easy to be integrated in their daily practice. And then, especially to the question what type of tools they lack the most, the majority of the answers stress the need for centralized, easy accessible tools, as well as automated recognition and monitoring solutions. So this revealed a significant gap between tool development and tool adoption in real case scenarios. So while there is a technological potential with the current TPM software, the state of the art is the limited awareness and access that, of course, prevent also the discovering, the preventing, and the stopping of the cultural traffic.
So what you're saying, because we see like we have more than 15 tools within this project, so it's the technology is there, but what you're saying to us is that the communication could be better.
I would specify that these analyses were done before the project started.
Okay.
So this was the situation at the moment while we had to develop also the tools. And of course, this is was the situation at the moment. And then, of course, as I see, also all the projects worked well in the communication and the relation with the different communities. So
yes, because we are all immersed within our communities, LEAs and museum, and I think the message spreads out, but still it can go further. But yes, it is very important, maybe, from what you say, is that people were using things for lack of anything better. They were using tools that were not made for them, and now today they have tools which are made for them. So again, technology is there, and this is why I turn to Azra, because you are from the museum community, and you see all these tools, and so as your experience of museum creators, and we've seen you have a very strong experience on this field, what solution would you need in order to be active, maybe within all the tools you have seen, but which is not yet available or not widespread enough within your community? What would be the solution that you say now and everywhere? Azra, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I can hear, and I hope you can hear me all. It is kind of difficult question because I can talk from the perspective of the Balkan museums. Maybe it's not completely the same situation in other countries, but and I will talk maybe more about Bosnian and Herzegovinian museums, but I think that all these tools are absolutely wonderful, but something what we need more is actually this financial resources and knowledge, actually how to use everything, because everything what you are developing is absolutely wonderful, but sometimes it's not possible to use in the museums. I work in the biggest museum in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we have some problems, and I'm sure that other smaller museums which also have really good collections which could be stolen or something have even more problems than we do have. And something what I think that we have globally to do is try to have good laws and to work together with these law enforcement agencies in order to know what do we have, and also something what we really in all the museums, and I'm sure that we are not all doing that, is good documentation and good databases. And I know that is also that was a problem with Aurora, with the blockchain technology, but because actually we realized that we don't have a database on a world level. We all have databases sometimes on a state levels, but very often, for example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we don't have database which is connected to the old museums, which do we have in Croatia, they do have. So in order to track something which is stolen, we actually need databases, and we all know, like Interpol list, I think, like in order to be on their list, you have to have good documentation, like photos, descriptions, and everything, and not all the museums have these kind of things. So I think that is something which we really have to communicate and work together and share knowledge actually in order to know how to use it later on. And I hope that answer your question.
Very precise answer and actually very direct, because as I share my experience is that sometimes as tools say like, oh, we would like to have data from your museum, we would like to have this and this, and you're like, I need to create the data first. And it's not because of lack of motivation, it's also because lack of resource, and resource is in the key of our discussion also. But resource can lead to, of course, to better technology and more usage. But thank you very much for your very precise answer. And again, if we talk about museum, let's talk again about LEAs. So same question for you, George, is that you've seen the tools, you have a good impression of all the concepts. So what would be your most needed now and as widespread as possible?
Yes, actually, from my perspective, I think that we saw the tools and all, there are a lot of tools for provenance, 3D modeling, satellite, monitoring, authenticity, etc., etc. And of course, all these valuable, all these are valuable components. But the single most critical technological solution for LEA that the LEA needs to strengthen their core work is an integrated, let's say, platform, intelligence identification platform. So we need to see how we can combine, the results of the three projects and create an integrated platform. While, specialized technologies are impressive and they often end up, unfortunately, as niche solutions used only by very limited experts. So the most impactful solution for LEAs is one that integrates these capabilities and puts simplified, actionable intelligence at every officer. So we don't need just another tool or another database. We need a smart layer that sits on top of all existing data and tools and allow us to ask a simple questions that are the core of our work. What is this, and where did it come from, and who is trying to sell it? So the solution is an integrated identification and intelligence platform.
So again, integrated and I would say ready to use. This is more or less a lot of LEAs, and I think everybody agrees. Sometimes we come and say, oh, we can do that. We can do from space technology, and they're like, okay, but I would like this to have this one in all, very easy to use, very accessible. We need as technological partners to do all the work for you, so you don't have to think too much, because you have also priorities always to remember: drug trafficking, human trafficking, weapon trafficking. So we need to really focus on giving you. This is the message you give to us, and thank you very much. So going to this integrated system, once again, I would like to turn to you, Valentina, about this you were responsible for integrating and integrating database. So what was the reason for the creation of Guardian CH tool, and should describe this tool a little bit just for people to understand? Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, the things that have been said so far, they are, let's say, mirroring also the results of the research from our point, because we have a series of different systems working with specific functions, but then they operate isolated, so they don't talk each other. And we notice also from the analysis that we had that there are also other recurring limitations. So, for example, one is the restricted access to digital resources related to looted cultural goods. Maybe, for example, for unadequate digitization efforts, that create, of course, the barriers to a comprehensive cultural heritage protection. And then in the case we have digital efforts, the dispersal of data across multiple platforms, also with limited interoperability, creates a significant information gaps. And then another thing that came out from our research is that there is an insufficient adoption of existing standards, which helps interoperability between systems. And the fact is that these standardization initiatives exist and try to close this gap. So, for example, a good example is the object ID, that is a metadata standard developed under the Paul Getty Trust and promoted by ICOM, that gives a minimum set of information needed to identify cultural heritage objects, and facilitating also the recovery and the recognition in case of objects. But similarly, also UNESCO created controlled vocabularies and thesaurus that can help, again, to standardize the information and to make all these frameworks talk each other. Then also, for example, museums continue to use different classification systems. Maybe they are not compatible with each other. So we need something that puts together all these things. So through the survey and the interviews done within the ANCHISE project, it became clear that there is no central space for where stakeholders can aggregate, search, compare, and find the data related to this object, and also tools, also another important factor. So within the ANCHISE project, we also developed this database, shared database, Guardian CH, that is a response to this problem, in order to bridge the gap between the data and also the tools availability. And this shared database gives the possibility to standardize and organize better the information, aggregate the data, and exploit the data. So through a common language for describing the information related to looted objects, we give the possibility in this way to aggregate that data coming from different databases and described in different ways, of course, and harmonizing to better retrieval also this data. So the promotion of interoperability is key in this thing, and this, I think, will give the opportunity not only to improve the interoperability, for example, of ANCHISE tool within the ANCHISE tool, so at the project level, but also to integrate also the results, for example, of AURORA and ENIGMA, our sister projects, because this is something that is already started to discuss. So these collaborative European initiatives can represent these coordinated efforts to address different but also complementary aspects of cultural heritage protection under this big umbrella that allows also interoperability between data and tools.
Yeah, so thank you very much for underlining interoperability for all these tools to be one day able to talk the same language and be used all together. And again, we are now going to Q&A. I always see questions in the chat, but Natalia, again, your country may need a lot of these tools, so don't hesitate to address different consortiums to see what can be done, what can be integrated. And of course, we're all looking to work together for the cause and to help you preserve your heritage. So I see now time for Q&A questions. So a lot of questions from any users, which I recognize, is that first, sustainability of the tools. Will they exist? Will they exist next month after the end of some projects? You know, what will be their future? And also, are they for free, or is there a fee? So it's an open question. Who wants to reply first, maybe, and also thank you again for all your answers so far. So anyone wants to address this question of sustainability? Maybe Natalia, Azra, maybe from AURORA.
Okay, yes, sure. In the national level in Ukraine, such kind of international projects can not only prove our heritage, but also to try to keep the sustainability of our economy and of our of all country, because nowadays it's ecocide in Ukraine, a lot of damage and a lot of problem. And from the heritage side, to return to the project result, we also try to ensure that this marking process that does not damage the artwork, because to prevent this heritage, it's important to save the natural artwork. So before applying the ink, we place an insulating layer of acrylic varnish, so which makes the process reversible and safe. So from the sustainable position, we try to ensure that this marking process does not damage the artwork, and then marking can be removed without harming the artwork. This is a concrete example, but for sure, all the results can be implemented in Ukraine, and very important because now we save from ecocide. Thank you.
So thank you very much. We talk about sustainability of the methods. Of course, web crawlers also needs to be sustainable for many years to bring results. But there's also sustainability in the tool itself, in finance, in budget, in continuous projects. So I would say maybe if some project coordinator wants to jump in to maybe help the people in the audience to understand whether or not this tool will be available for them, or whether or not they still needs to project to support them. Maybe any of you, Véronique, I see you online. Domenico, don't hesitate to jump in for this. So Véronique, maybe, or
Axel, can I?
Yes.
Okay,
Georgiadis, yes.
Okay, so regarding sustainability and what we do after the project ends. All three projects are research and innovation projects. So most of them, they reach a TRL of 6, 7, maybe 8 in some cases. But our, let's say, focus was to reach this stage. In order for all the tools to be operational, they need to reach TRL 9. So we have a couple of years in front of us in order to be able to have them operational so they can work in an operational environment, meaning that they have custody of evidence being incorporated in the procedures and workflows that the law enforcement agencies follows, because they need to be able to document every step. So if the case goes to a trial, then everything should be according to European or national law. I mean, from Enigma's part, following the pilots, we have the Hellenic police. They seem interested to keep continuing and trying to find alternative funding, not only from the European Union, in order to integrate the system. But this is something that it's starting now, the discussions. Also, the other questions about how we foresee the role of Europol or European institutions. I mean, that's what we would like to do, to provide the system. I think that all the three projects want to do that can be used in a centralized way, because this means that also the cost will be minimized, since one organization, like the European organization, will have all this cost. It's like something similar to the new customs service that the European Union wants to implement, which will be a centralized, let's say, platform or authority, and each different national police force will have access to that. But in order for that to be possible, all the police forces of the Europe need to agree on that, because I know that a lot of them have their own resources, they have their own databases. I mean, I guess also the database that ANCHISE developed is like ENIGMA, which offers interoperability, and also we have tools that can basically are customized and be able to import any data from any database.
Yes.
And what is also of interest is basically now there is the European Cloud for Cultural Heritage, which is going to produce new standards. And we want to be interoperable with that. So if every institution basically follows the standard, I mean, we designed our database with all the information we had, in order to be able, with a very little customization, to handle data coming from the European Cultural Heritage.
Okay. Thank you very much, Georgiadis. I see Véronique also as project coordinator of ANCHISE. You want to have a word on sustainability. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Charalampos, because you said exactly what you directly got to the point. I think sustainability is the real key question and the issue there. And we are also very much claiming and asking the European Commission not to waste all the efforts that have been done till now, because the challenging logic of projects is great and it has to continue. But we should not miss, in the meanwhile, the results and the accumulated knowledge and network that has been created through this effort of research. And all these tools, of course, they have to be centralized, but it's not only the question of tools, it's also the question of competencies that are interdisciplinary competencies. So the tools, of course, they can be hosted in a different way, but we have to think also about the ecosystem of all these research results and all these projects. So we have to be connected to Europol, we have to be connected to ECOS and to the European Cloud for Cultural Heritage. We have to be connected to many things. And I think that it is time to think about the development of a competence center dedicated to the protection of cultural heritage, and it would not be redundant with other initiatives, because we should imagine an agile structure which could foster all the dynamics and the interdisciplinary dynamics that have been created right now, and with the capacity to leverage the competencies and the results of several projects. So this is something that has really now to be put on the table, I think, and which is a path for new discussion with the European Commission.
I see, Domenico, you want to intervene also, and that would be, I think, the last intervention before we pass the word to Hélène.
Yeah, very brief intervention, just to say that I saw some of the question in the chat. In the AURORA case, thank you to the Ukrainian partner, we have just reached the demonstration on the field of part of the solution, of course, because we need further improvement, but also we need a policy framework, a European policy framework that can foster the application, the practical application of these tools. For example, blockchain regulation. This is a very powerful technology that requires national harmonized regulation among the different states. Blockchain also is strong because it's not centralized. I saw one question that is asking for centralized. It can be centralized controlled, but has not the weakness of a centralized system. That is one point of failure. So this is why, for example, Europe in general needs to be to move on the regulation, on the blockchain, on the AI adoption, because otherwise we'll be left behind. And of course, the illegal activities will not just follow regulation. No? So they will use new technologies as much as they want. So just to say that.
Okay, thank you very much, Domenico. Just to precise, because for some people which are not familiar with the word TRL, this tool readiness level, which means that 6, 7 mixed prototypes, which you have seen many of them are prototypes, and to go from prototypes to products which is on the shelf, which is TRL 9, as explained, sometimes it costs as much as the development. So people need to think it's not just a short gap, it's a complete new budget. So for all the tools, and I know about all of them, we need to have this support. And my response to Nick as really, of course, we would like to be on the repository, but we need this support to reach TRL 9. And of course, I think we will have this conversation with ECHOs. Thank you very much for all the participants. It has been extremely valuable and very rich. I wish we had more time, but we need to conclude and pass. I will pass the floor to Hélène Ventimiglia from ICOM. To have the last one. And again, thank you very much for the panelists and all your exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Axel, and thank you everyone for letting me the floor and this space to speak about the role of museums and museum professionals in our project. So good afternoon again, dear colleagues, partners, and participants who are joining us online. It is both a pleasure and an honor to be here today to speak on behalf of ICOM, the International Council of Museums, at this Mondiacult side event, a key moment for advocacy, exchange, and cooperation in the protection of cultural heritage. Today, the focus of our side event was on 3 European projects on the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property, showing the importance of this challenge at the European level. These projects also aim to experiment innovative solutions to face this complex phenomenon. And another key aspect of these 3 European projects is interdisciplinarity and cooperation. Indeed, as we have said, technology alone is not enough to fight against illicit trafficking of cultural heritage. To be effective, it must be combined with human expertise. And when it comes to understanding and identifying cultural objects, that expertise lies with museum professionals. We have seen this in practice today. We were pleased to hear from Azra Becevic, who is involved in both AURORA and ANCHISE projects. The last ANCHISE demonstration of the tools was at the National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina just a few weeks ago. So this is a very good example showing that museum professionals are key actors in the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property, and that they are keen in adapting their practices to current challenges and opportunities provided by new technologies. So we see often museums as victims of the thefts and the illicit trafficking, and indeed they are affected on the front line, along with the communities connected to the heritage they safeguard. On this matter, it is always very important to remember that museums are repositories for cultural heritage that represent the memory, history, and stories of their communities, as well as their cultural identity. And at the same time, museums are a space for exchange, connecting both past, present societies and are oriented toward the future. And by being close to the artifacts and their meaning, by curating them, restoring them, and valorizing them, museum professionals play an active role in the preservation of cultural heritage. Museums, and in particular museum professionals, thus play a significant role in the promotion and preservation of cultural heritage, which includes the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property. That is why we really need to recognize museum professionals as actors in the fight against illicit trafficking. And at ICOM, so we are an NGO representing the museum community with more than 60,000 members from 139 countries and territories around the world, including institutions and professionals. We seek to raise awareness on the importance of considering museums and museum professionals as actors against this threat to cultural heritage. Indeed, the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property has been one of the core missions of the organization since its creation in 1946, and one of the emblematic tools developed by ICOM are the ICOM red lists of cultural objects at risk, celebrating their 25th anniversary this year, and you can see in the background a lot of them. These tools are conceived thanks to the expertise of museum professionals who help different kind of stakeholders, including non-museum professionals, notably from the LEA side, to identify the main categories of objects at risk, which is a very difficult task considering the richness of heritage in each area of the world covered by a red list. This also shows the importance of involving museum professionals in the conception of tools and solutions against illicit trafficking. And this is an approach taken in the ANCHISE project, in which ICOM is involved as a consortium partner. So in this project, we work with our national committees. So it's a general ICOM approach to mobilize museum experts in the testing phases of the tools developed in the project. And at the European level, ICOM is also coordinating the PRISM project on the prevention and fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property, again working with selected national committees to shape tailored initiatives to protect cultural heritage. So to conclude this brief intervention, I wanted to underline one essential point. Museums and museum professionals must be recognized as active partners in the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural property. Encouragingly, this approach is reflected in the European projects presented today, and particularly in ANCHISE, in which ICOM is directly involved. These initiatives show the potential of new technologies in the cultural sector, while also reminding us the importance of the basics: up-to-date inventories, databases, professional expertise, and strong networks, elements that we continue to advocate for at ICOM. At the same time, museums and museum professionals need support, and it has been reminded today, notably in Azra's intervention. Human and financial resources, training and recognition, they are all the resources needed by these professionals so that they can fully play their role in the preservation, the promotion, and the protection of cultural heritage, not only for today's societies, but also for generations to come. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Hélène, and thank you very much for this very, very inspiring speech. And I guess I have the privilege to wrap up this wonderful conversation that we had. So many things came out, and I think that so many things came out and we couldn't answer all your questions. So what I want to do is to invite you to go to the project's website, AURORA, ANCHISE, and ENIGMA. Contact the people, because you can see there are a lot of professionals that are very involved in what we are doing, because we believe that we need, of course, a European but also a global solution to illicit trafficking of cultural goods. And we want to thank Mondiacult for this opportunity to share the platform. And of course, don't forget to follow what is going on in Barcelona, in Mondiacult, starting on the 29th of September and then finishing on the 1st of October. A lot of meetings, a lot of high-level discussion will take place. And it is important to follow and to advocate for heritage protection and the collaboration in this sector. Again, thanks to all our speakers, wonderful speakers, and it was a nice path to go with you, and we are very happy to collaborate with you. Thank you again very much, and we hope to see you soon in other meetings, in other presentations. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.